We all like to think we're in the driver's seat when it comes to our own choices. But what if I told you that from the price you'd pay for a bottle of wine to whether you'd lie for a few extra bucks, your decisions are constantly being shaped by forces you don't even see? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on those hidden forces. So let's just start with that big question. Are your decisions really your own? We want to believe they are, right? That we're making conscious, deliberate choices every step of the way. But what if that's not quite the whole story?
You know, for the longest time, especially in fields like economics, the core belief was that humans are rational. We weigh the pros and cons, we calculate the costs and benefits, and we make a logical choice. It's a really neat and tidy theory, but when you look at how people actually behave in the real world, well, it kind of goes right out the window.
Okay, let's dive right in with our first big idea, the invisible puppeteer. We're going to see just how ridiculously easy it is to manipulate our choices with information that honestly shouldn't matter at all.
Let's try a quick thought experiment, and this is based on a real study. First, just take a second and think of the last 2 digits of your social security number, or your phone number, doesn't matter. Just get that 2-digit number locked in your head. You got it? Good.
Now imagine I show you this really nice bottle of wine. Would you be willing to pay the dollar amount of the number you just thought of? So if your number was, say, 34, would you pay $34 for this wine? Just a simple yes or no in your head.
So what happened in the real experiment? The results are kind of staggering. The students whose social security numbers ended in low digits, between 00 and 19, they bid an average of about $8.50. But look at this. The students with high numbers, from 80 to 99, they bid an average of almost $28. Let that sink in for a second. A completely random, meaningless number totally changed what they thought that wine was worth.
So this weird phenomenon has a name. It's a cognitive bias called anchoring. What happens is our brain just latches onto the very first piece of information it gets, the anchor, even if it's totally irrelevant, and then all our other judgments get skewed by it. That random number became the secret puppeteer, pulling the strings on people's wallets.
So, we've seen how a random number can pull our strings, but that is not the only invisible force at play. Not even close. Next, we're going to look at how the people around us and even just the idea of money can completely change the rules of how we behave.
We basically live in 2 separate worlds, and each has its own rulebook. First, there's the world of social norms. It's warm, it's fuzzy, it's collaborative. It's why you help a friend move or bring a dish to a party. You don't send them an invoice, right? But then there's the world of market norms. That's transactional. It's self-interested. It's all about costs and benefits and what's in it for me. And when you get these 2 worlds mixed up, things get really weird.
And this study just perfectly illustrates that divide. Researchers simply had people think about money for a minute, like their salary. That's it. And that one little thought was enough to completely shift them out of the social world and into the market world. All of a sudden, they were less willing to help people, they wanted to spend more time alone, and they even physically sat farther away from other people. The mere idea of money made them less social.
Now, our social brain has another really powerful quirk. Just read this request. You're asked to help Rokia, a specific 7-year-old girl. You can picture her, can't you? There's a face, a name, a story. That creates a really powerful emotional connection.
Now look at these results. When asked to help Rokia, people donated, on average, almost half of the money they earned in the experiment. But when another group was asked to donate to the big, abstract problem of fighting hunger, the average donation just plummeted to 23%. We are just not wired to care about statistics. The suffering of one single person can move us more than the suffering of millions.
Okay, for our final act, let's turn the lens on ourselves and look at something a little uncomfortable. Let's talk about our own dishonesty. We all like to think we're good, honest people, but, are we?
This brings us to the brilliantly named fudge factor theory. It suggests we're constantly walking this tightrope. On one side, we want the benefits that come from cheating. On the other, we desperately want to look in the mirror and see a good person staring back. So we cheat, but only by a little bit. Just enough to profit, but not so much that we have to change how we see ourselves. It's our personal fudge factor. To test this, researchers created this really simple experiment. People got paid for each math problem they solved. In the control group, an experimenter checked their work, so cheating was pretty much impossible. But in the shredder group, participants checked their own work, shredded the evidence, and then just told the experimenter how many they got right. You can see where this is going, right? So first, the control group. With the experimenter checking their answers, there was no way to cheat. The average person honestly solved about 3 problems. That's our baseline for honesty.
But in the shredder group? Well, the average number of claimed correct answers jumped to 5.5. People didn't go wild and say they solved all of them, they just fudged it a little bit, claimed credit for a couple of extra problems. It's a perfect demonstration of the fudge factor in action. Okay, but here's the amazing part. In another version of this experiment, before they started the math problems, people were simply asked to try and recall the 10 commandments. And just thinking about a moral code for a moment, even for people who couldn't remember any of them, was enough to eliminate cheating, completely. Their claim score dropped right back down to the honest baseline of 3. Isn't that incredible?
So, where does all of this leave us? It might seem a little depressing, right? To realize how easily we're all manipulated by our own minds. But the point isn't that we're hopelessly flawed. The real point is that understanding these flaws is the first, most important step toward making better decisions.
As the researcher Dan Ariely, whose work inspired a lot of this, puts it, our irrationality isn't random. It's systematic. It's predictable. And because it's predictable, we can anticipate it. We can design systems and reminders and strategies to counteract it.
So let's recap the big takeaways. First, anchoring. Our decisions can be unconsciously swayed by totally irrelevant info. Second, we live by different rules in social versus market situations, and our empathy is wired for individuals, not big abstract statistics. And finally, the fudge factor. Most of us will cheat, but only by a little bit, just enough to let us keep our self-image as good people intact.
By seeing these patterns, we're no longer just at their mercy. We can start to see the invisible strings and question the forces that are trying to guide our choices. And that leaves us with one last thought. Now that you know about some of your brain's predictable flaws, what decision will you start to question next?